Welcome to Voices from the Valley, a podcast of the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region. I'm Amy Spreeman. As we've been talking about the local affordable housing situation, there's one group of neighbors in our communities that often have a particularly difficult time, and that is our growing refugee population. Did you know most of them come from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Central Africa? But 2 years ago, we began to see many come through the Afghanistan evacuation program. They come to the United States and resettle in northeast Wisconsin, many leaving family members behind, hoping someday to bring those loved ones here to start a new life with them. In this episode, we want to revisit a conversation my co-host Carolyn DeRosier and I had with Tami McLaughlin, the executive director of World Relief Fox Valley. Back in 2021, she spoke with us about the first several dozen refugees who were just coming to the Fox Valley. I spoke with her recently about what those refugee numbers look like today, 2 years later. These numbers go by fiscal year, and Tami said that by September of 2021, World Relief had helped resettle 96 refugees. Well, last year that number grew to 280, mostly from Afghanistan. And this year, Tami says they hope to resettle about 300 refugees from the Congo, Afghanistan, and other places around the world. Here's what she had to say back when we first spoke about the challenges these folks face as newcomers to our communities. Well, hello, Tami. Thanks for joining us.
So great to be here. Thank you.
Why don't we start with the current situation as we record this conversation, Thanksgiving 2021, because we know that things change weekly, maybe even hourly. What can you tell us about the Afghan families who have already come and those who are going to be coming to the Fox Valley to resettle here?
Sure. We are, as we approach the end of Thanksgiving, expecting that we will have welcomed 30 Afghans, and that's total. So we've welcomed a family of 2, a family of 3, 4, a family of 8. So all represent different makeup in terms of family size. All, I think, are very glad to be here and feeling safe and relief that they are in a place that they can begin starting a life, just starting moving forward. And we have planned to have welcomed up to 200 is what we had proposed as part of this resettlement program. And are told that the military bases are anxious for people to be resettled and would like people resettled by mid-February. So we're thinking in between the end of November and mid-February to end of February, we'll have welcomed up to possibly 150 more people.
Wow, that's incredible, Tami. I want to ask you about the term refugee because I'm sure most of our listeners have heard that term before and we probably think we know what it means, but can you explain what refugee status entails and how it is different from other forms of immigration?
Certainly. First of all, a refugee is someone who's had to flee their country for fear of war, persecution, or violence. So many of the people who are in our country or who've come to the United States are refugees because of having been forced to flee their country. However, the status that they do enter the United States could be different. Some come with the status of refugees, and they have come through our refugee resettlement program. And that's mainly what World Relief Fox Valley is involved in. We contract with the Department of State, and it's basically a refugee resettlement contract, and it tells us exactly everything that we have to do to welcome people to our community. And what's different about the status that our Afghan newcomers are coming in as is they are refugees because basically they're having to flee their country. However, they are being evacuated out of their country because of the urgency, the chaos, the terror, and their lives are in jeopardy if they stay. So they are being admitted as a humanitarian parolee, and that is a status that is used in emergency situations. And therefore, the different statuses also define the services that are available to them and how a refugee resettlement agency such as us would serve them. And what's happening, though, is the parolee status and the refugee status are beginning to look very, very similar from an agency point of view in terms of how we are serving them. In our eyes, they are people to welcome, to receive, to serve in every way that we can. We hope the community feels that way also. So whoever they are here or whatever reason they are here, is still an opportunity for us to serve them.
I think for most of our listeners to this podcast, it's hard to put ourselves in their shoes. Tami, can you help our listeners get a feel for how jarring this would be for people to suddenly need to part with everything and everyone that they've ever known to start a new life where they don't know the language and they don't know their way around many, many challenges? What is that like for them?
Sure, Amy, and that's a great question. And I think we'll still learn from this most recent evacuation, what all of the implications are. Certainly anybody who's had to flee their country, and leave everything behind. Just think, you leave your possessions, you leave people, you leave your education, your status, everything that you've worked toward has to start over. You have to begin over when you enter a new country. However, with, again, the Afghan community that we're resettling now, because of the urgency that they had to flee, there wasn't any time in between, leaving your country and being set in a brand new country. We were told that before there was a bombing at Kabul and the Kabul airport, and that's when things took a quick turn, and the evacuation became much more intensified. We were told before that people were coming with possibly a couple suitcases, had a little time to prepare. After the bombing, people were coming with simply the shirts on their backs. Wow. We have one family here who we knew was separated in that bombing. So they still have, one parent is here with a couple children, another parent with the other children are still in the airport, had to make a quick decision about what do we do. And so it's hard to imagine how we or anybody would ever feel, ever process, ever know what it's like to start over in that situation. I hope it's something that we as Americans never have to learn, but I do hope that it helps us to empathize and, again, to welcome the people who we are having the privilege of bringing into our community and giving them that hope and opportunity to start over.
We're going to take a brief time out and be right back with our interview with Tami McLaughlin.
The Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region is a great resource for making a local impact while simplifying your charitable giving through a tax-deductible charitable fund. Perhaps you're passionate about certain organizations or want to support causes such as education or pets at the animal shelter, or you're interested in addressing the greatest needs of the community. When you partner with us, we'll share our local knowledge so that you can make a difference today and always. Learn more at cffoxvalley.org.
I want to talk now, Tami, about World Relief Fox Valley, about your organization. Tell us more about what you do and how you help folks make this their new home.
We first thing that we do is provide vital services, and that's really through our refugee resettlement welcome. And we have to find secure and safe, affordable housing. We have to furnish the housing, provide a warm, welcome meal that is culturally appropriate. If it sounds like this is very descriptive, it is, because again, it's a government contract and it's very comprehensive, tells us exactly what we need to do. And we are monitored on that contract by how well we perform against that contract. And again, it's not a contract to us. It's certainly a guideline of what we need to do. We want to do more than that, more than just, what the basics are. And that's why we depend so heavily on our community community members to welcome also because they add so much to how we're able to welcome. But in addition to those, first, couple days, we provide next day visits, orientations that teach people, this is American way of life. This is American culture. This is what to expect. We help people enroll in English classes for the adult learners at the technical college, the young children in schools, Appleton and Menasha School District. We connect them with a healthcare provider for initial health exams and then long-term, healthcare. So we are really, really busy in providing a lot of those services in those first 30, 60, 90 days. Most of those are so people land well, so they stabilize. And then we start working on employment and start doing employment assessments, finding out what they've done before, what their skills are, what they want to do, and then start working towards that, which is, again, a deeper anchor, in providing more skills and more assistance for people to start securing employment and start becoming self-sufficient. And then our long-term hope is really integrate well and do well and thrive versus just surviving when they're first arriving.
I can empathize a little bit because my husband is an immigrant from a country that's very different from the U.S., different climate, different culture, different way of living. And there were so many things when he first came here that were firsts. And they were things that I sort of thought about as basic, or things that everyone should know, that I didn't realize were things that I learned as a result of living here. For example, I remember the first time that he accidentally put silverware in the microwave, and I was like, "What are you doing? You don't put silverware in the microwave?" And he was like, "Okay, how would I have known that, right?" But there's just so many moments of experience that are so different. And some of them, like silverware in the microwave, are pretty minor, but some of them are huge and really difficult to navigate when you first come here from a very different experience. And Tami, part of your work involves partnering with faith communities and community volunteers. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. World Relief is a Christian organization, and actually there's 9 resettlement agencies. Many of them are faith-based. That's not unusual, and the government acknowledges that. World Relief's model uses a church good neighbor team, is what we call this model. Often churches have established small groups, who are already, again, established and can start collecting donations and have a large church support behind them. And they walk alongside a newly arriving family. And again, just really, really help. Maybe with grocery shopping, teaching somebody how to use a washer and dryer, just stopping over and having communication over a cup of coffee and learning how to converse without either speaking the language. So that is a model that we use frequently. And we've really, we've worked hard at that model. And actually all of our arriving families have a church to walk alongside of them. But we also have numerous volunteer opportunities also for people to get plugged in, just community members of any walk of life who want to be involved in this effort. We have transportation teams, some additional grocery shopping teams, last minute teams. Hey, if we found out somebody needs something really quick, we reach out to that team and they'll do whatever that is. Maybe it's Walmart buying a pair of winter boots because it snowed, or, those types of things. So we cherish just the relationships we have with all of our community members who want to be a part of this.
You talk about this being a government contract for World Relief Fox Valley, but it sounds to me, from what I'm hearing from you, that this is much more than that to you personally, that this is your great joy to serve.
It is. And, the government, we say government because sometimes people don't realize how comprehensive, this program is. And there's really a lot of requirements. It's just not a random, hey, maybe we'll do this one day or this one day. It's, and it was created, this process was created by the 1980 Refugee Act, which was approved by our Senate. So it's been in place a long time and established long ago. So I think that's part of this conversation, is for people to realize that this really is, a program that we adhere to. But when the government created this program, they created it as a public-private partnership. They wanted communities to collaborate around these welcome opportunities. And I think that was brilliant on behalf of our government, because it not only, welcomes people to a better place and a better community, but it changes our community, which I think is equally as important in this process, to learn what these newcomers have to offer us, to teach us, to enhance our community. So it really, it works both ways. And that's what makes it so robust and such an abundant program.
I know there are a few Wisconsin communities that are kind of key in this operation. How did the Fox Valley become a place to resettle? And what other refugee groups have already made the Fox Valley their home?
Sure. When a community decides, oftentimes with World Relief, it's a church, a large church community or group of churches who may reach out to World Relief and say, we're interested in this. However, ultimately, it is the government's decision. And also, we have a state refugee coordinator. The states get very involved in this also. So again, to make sure that that the government knows that this is a program that will be very well supported. And they do look at the communities in that respect. And we feel so privileged to be a part of the Fox Valley community. We feel that it was such a good choice and such a good decision to be here because of the support we get from local government, community foundation, United Way, schools, and all of that is considered in terms of deciding to open a resettlement agency there. So it's, we're very thankful that World Relief is in the Fox Valley. And we are the only refugee resettlement agency in the Fox Valley. World Relief Fox Valley opened in 2012. And in the past 9 years, we have welcomed over 1,100 refugees. And currently, over 50% of our refugee population is represented by the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's been a growing population for us, and we expect that population to continue to grow. But our other 50% is just a really great, diverse community: Syrians, Iraqis, Burmese, Sudanese. Well, Afghan now is a new. We have a small Afghan population before this, but that certainly will grow. Pakistani. So it's a really, really diverse population and community who we've resettled. And like I said, expect to the Congolese and the Afghan with this most recent effort, those two populations to continue to grow in our community.
It adds so much richness and vibrance to our community just to have folks from all over the world here in the Fox Valley. It's wonderful. So you mentioned that there are 30 Afghan individuals that have now arrived in the Fox Valley. I imagine that is quite a learning curve. How are they acclimating to life here?
They are acclimating well. I think, like all refugees, the first emotion we experience is, I'm safe. Mm-hmm. And, this most recent group, as we talked about it, were evacuated quickly out of, Kabul, flown to lily pads is what they're calling them. They're bases overseas where every person went through biographical and biometric screening. If they passed that, they went through interviewing. If they passed that, then they were flown to military bases here, one of 8 military bases in the United States, and spent a couple more weeks there. And, okay, I'm safe. First of all, I know this is my new home. I can start over, and I think, the initial emotions, as always, are just, maybe those top emotions. I'm sure we will start seeing just as people process the experience they went through. I don't think they've had time to do that. Maybe some of the other emotions that will come from that. Many of the families are still concerned about families who are still overseas. And, that's just a whole nother level of worry and burden, is what's going to happen to my family? Will they be evacuated eventually? So a lot of those mixed emotions, I don't want to, they're thankful they're here. I know they'll do well. They have young families. I know their children will do well. Just so much, opportunity and potential in each and every person who we've welcomed. but there will be a lot to work through, and we acknowledge that, and we will learn, with them. Hopefully, we know we have great community support and providers who can assist in areas of those specific needs. And we will take it every day as it comes, and hopefully plan where we can plan ahead. But we also hold everything loosely. We've learned that throughout this experience, because things do change, and pivot when we need to. And take it day by day.
I know one of the things that you do is to find housing, to find homes, whether it's temporary or to maybe look at something a little more permanent. What is the need, and how do you go about finding a place for them?
Housing has been one of the biggest challenges, just because of the high number, the volume that we are resettling in a short amount of time. And housing is at a premium all over the country, not only the Fox Valley right now. Every time I talk somewhere, media, reach out, landlords, if you would be willing to work with us, please let us know. So trying to develop new landlord partnerships. Obviously, landlords it's a business decision to rent to somebody, and you want credit history, you want employment history, that type of information that we can't provide on behalf of our clients, but we are finding some landlords who are willing to work with us. And we're trying to, give them some safety net, also paying double security deposits, guaranteeing a certain amount of rent forward. Something that we've also done, which has been unique in this situation, and it's been because of the generous donations and generous partners that we have, is we've been able to secure rent immediately. If something's available, a house is available, we'll go ahead and secure it, even if we don't know the family that will live there. And sometimes we've had to wait a week or two, before we know of a family who's arriving. But then that landlord would take that house off the market and allow us. We can go in and we'll set the house up. And that has worked beautifully. They walk in, this is yours, and everything's set up, and now you can start over. So that's, again, just really appreciated the opportunity to be in a position where we can do that, because it means the world to them, and just, the ability to start now, to start over.
Well, we'll be sure to include some information on World Relief and how to get in touch in our program notes. If you're listening and you're a landlord, or if you have any leads on supportive landlords, we would love to hear from you.
This is such a learning for, I think, all of us, especially me. I just can't imagine the amount of collaboration with other organizations and all the funding that needs to happen to go into all this. Tell us about this effort in the community that needs to come together.
All different sectors. And we just so thankful and appreciative of the partners we do have. We, World Relief has a quarterly meeting, and we've had it more frequently. It's of all of our partners who are involved in this effort get together, and we talk about, numbers and who's here, and does anybody have any, challenges they want to talk about, just really keep people abreast and informed of what's going on. And so that's a great, just a great venue for all of us to talk about refugee resettlement and how that's happening. And so again, many of our partners, the benefit providers, medical providers, school systems, in addition to many more on that call. So that's one segment, kind of our collaboration as the service providers. Then we also have our partners, and in terms of volunteers and churches, and have orientations for them. We talk about culture. We talk about history of Afghanistan. We talk about, why people are here, how you can serve them, what questions not to ask, those types of things, just really prepare them well for that serve. But again, such an important sector in terms of how we provide these services. Community Foundation and our community partners and our, who provide us with some of the financial means to allow us to buy groceries before their benefits kick in, because they are all on food share when they start. So, there's all those little needs that need to be covered also. So it's just a community collaborative effort, and everybody has a part and a piece of that. And I think, when everybody starts to see the benefits of it also, and I think like the Hmong, when we look at the Hmong culture and our Hmong community members and how they've contributed to the vibrancy of our community, professionals, leaders, government, restaurants, businesses, we have that to look forward to from every community that we welcome and we receive. And again, everybody who's a part of that initial beginning reception, is going to we're all going to share the benefits together of what this, what this resettlement and this welcome experience means to us.
That's really beautiful, Tami. Just how everyone is coming together and contributing in different ways. And I imagine it's a lot of magic behind the scenes at World Relief from your staff and volunteers to make it all come together. Let's talk just a little bit here as we wrap up our time together about how our listeners can get involved. What can they do to help create a welcoming experience for these families as they resettle to the community?
Great question. Learn as much as you can about why people are here, the history of Afghanistan. One thing we talk a lot about, even as a staff, because we have so much to learn too. You never, first of all, you need to treat every person as an individual. We all need to do that. So we do use generalizations because sometimes that helps at least take some steps, and move forward. But again, everybody is an individual and every experience is different and everybody has their own experience and their own story. And I would encourage everybody to learn as much as they can. And our staff is involved with it on a daily basis. And we still have conversations. What could we have done better? What could we have learned differently? Because it's so important that we all maintain a posture of learning and receiving continually. So I would encourage that for every one of us in our community, in every situation. It's not just this, even if I have somebody who moved next door from Iowa, be friendly and learn about them and why are they here. So I think that's something that I wish we all would do. And then just, don't make judgments. Sometimes culture, we view things from our cultural perspective and it's not right or wrong, but that's how we like to see things, is right or wrong, and sometimes place judgment on things. So I would say, try and open your perspective and broaden, your perspective also, and just not make judgments, but try and see the goodness in the differences of people, and that it's not always right or wrong or good or bad, but it's just different, and treat people like you would like to be treated. That's something I think we teach our kids, and we need to be reminded as adults sometimes also. So, yeah.
Excellent reminder. Thank you so much, Tami. And I know that you're going to have these learnings as more and more families come, and we'd like to hear more about that. And we'd love to have you back on a future episode of this podcast.
Thank you so much. Just appreciate this opportunity. And again, all you do, you guys are wonderful.
Oh, thank you. And, we're going to have all of the links to World Relief Fox Valley and many other links so that you can begin learning. And we'll have those on our program notes today for this episode. We'll check back in with Tami in a future episode. Thank you for listening, and please consider what you've heard here today and how you might get involved as a volunteer or as a financial supporter. You can check out our program notes for more information and links to World Relief Fox Valley. You can also subscribe to this podcast and get all of our episodes delivered to you on demand. Just go to our website, cffoxvalley.org, look for the podcast link on our homepage, and click there to get Voices from the Valley wherever you get your audio. We'll see you next time on Voices from the Valley, a podcast of the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region.